down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. It's an open mic night for photographers. Get ready for 60 minutes of your photography questions in real time with answers from your host, Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, thanks for joining me for another Monday night and another live episode of TogChat. I'm Joe Edelman. I'm your host for the evening. For the next 60 minutes, which, you know, with my math, it's usually like 90 minutes, we're going to talk about all things photography. So we got a lot of people here already. Do me a favor, gang. Let me know where you're from. Say hi. Let's make sure that we get that in the whole video here. And I mean, I've seen a lot of names go by. Ishmael's here, Rough Shots, James, Al, David, James Lewis, Carl's here, Dan Drace is here, James Mazzone, Tony Keeble, James Parrish has been here for ages, Robert's here, Steven's here, everybody's here. So listen, gang, first of all, it is good to see all of you. Thank you for stopping by on a Monday night and spending some time with me. Let's get some business out of the way really quick while people are still showing up. First of all, please hit that thumbs up. Only takes a second right underneath the video. It's painless, easy to do. And if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the channel so you get notifications on all my new videos. That way you don't miss any good stuff. And of course, social media. I am most active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links are in the video or in the description below the video. Please make sure you follow me there. Usually, especially on Instagram, when I'm shooting, I'll post behind-the-scenes shots from my shoots. And then, of course, a couple days later, the finished shots. And as always, comments are greatly appreciated below the video, as well as here in the chat. Okay, so every week, I tell you guys about the contest that PhotoFlex runs. I want to switch my screen over here real quick. So this is the PhotoFlex Facebook page that I am on right at the moment. And I'm going to go ahead and in the chat window, I am going to paste the URL for their Facebook page. They run a contest every week. It's called, Anand, thank you for that super chat question. I'll get to your question in just a minute. PhotoFlex runs this contest called Share Your Lighting. And basically, it's real simple. You submit 2 photos. That's it. Just 2. One is a behind-the-scenes picture of your shoot. The second one is the finished shot, right? And you have a chance to win prizes from PhotoFlex when you do that. Now, here's the cool part about this. Think about this, because no other company does this. You don't have to use PhotoFlex lighting gear in order to win the prize. So you send your pictures to the email address I just posted into the chat window. It is tellus@promarkbrands.com. 2 photos. If you're a member of my group, you already know the right way to submit photos. Give them all the background information. But hey, this week, gang, the prize that they're giving away this week, and remember, you do not have to use PhotoFlex gear to win the prize. The prize is worth like $260. It's a big one. It's, if you want to Google it and see what it is, it's called their first studio light panel kit. And these light panels are actually really neat. They're basically like I don't want to say plexiglass. It's not plexiglass, but it's a piped type panel that collapses, comes with a bag, the whole bit. Really, really nice. Okay, $260. So the reason why I also want to talk to you guys about this is I didn't do TogChat last week, so I'll go ahead and I'll accept the blame. But last week's winner, and I don't mean anything bad to Mr. Daniel T. Chester, but this is like a product shot or something. And Daniel's not a member of my Facebook group. I've got a really good run of photographers, members of my Facebook group, and followers here on YouTube winning this contest. So when I see somebody else win it, you know, I'm glad for them. It's cool. And photography shouldn't be a competition, but it's a competition. So come on, gang. Like, get out there, take pictures, shoot the behind the scenes, win prizes, okay? So I hope to see somebody that's either in my Facebook group or that follows me here on YouTube winning this week. Okay, you've got until basically the end of the day tomorrow to get it in. They pick the winner on Wednesday, and then they post it on their Facebook page, and they'll notify you, etc. Okay, so also some other really, really cool stuff. So that's all the business that we have to do. Okay, a lot of you know that since I wasn't here last week, I was down in Nashville. I'd like to say that I was partying my, you know what, off, but no, not quite. But I had a great time. But I have to tell you, so kind of the highlight of the trip. So number one, those of you that have been here earlier, you know that I was speaking for Olympus, which was really very, very much an honor. I did a talk for Olympus on their stage that was called Fashion Portraiture with Simple Lighting. And the thing that was actually really pretty cool is I got to photograph a young woman who is the former 2017 Miss Tennessee USA, Allie Sutton Heathcote, who was just number one, absolutely beautiful, but also wonderful to work with. These two photos, by the way, are taken by one of the members of my Facebook group, Mr. Stephen Wampler, so I greatly appreciate that. This crazy little thing that you see us doing under the material here, yes, there's a video coming, and I'll talk all about it. It won't be next week, it'll be the following week, but I'm going to do a video about it and share it with you guys. But one of the highlights, so I did the talk twice. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, Sunday a week ago, and I walked out of the audio booth to go on stage for my second talk, came around the corner, and sitting in the front row was none other than Mr. Scott Kelby. Yeah, so like no pressure, but fortunately, apparently he liked the talk. So he tweeted about it. He even talked about it on a Facebook live stream. So that was a highlight for me. It was really very, very cool. So before I went live tonight, a bunch of people were asking about workshops and speaking engagements. Somebody wanted to know, like, will I be doing studio training workshops on location, like in Texas, that kind of stuff. So let me give you guys the rundown of what's coming up, because I'm really, really excited about this. For those of you that have never heard me talk about it before, this whole YouTube thing, you don't make any money doing YouTube, okay? Like literally, you just don't. I make my money. I still have a few commercial clients, but I'm making my money by teaching, okay? That was the decision I made just about 2 years ago now to do this full time. I'm having a blast. I put together a business model. It was not done on a whim and say, hey, let's go do this. God, no. A lot of deliberation, a lot of planning, a lot of thought process, a lot of research went into it. So YouTube, of course, is what drives most of my income, but it doesn't give me my income. So this year in particular, there has been a big focus on me booking speaking engagements, etc. My goal is to not actually run a lot of workshops my own. I know a lot of photographers do. I know, for instance, like Jason Lanier does, etc. I just don't have the bandwidth to run a bunch of workshops and organize them, etc. Now, I could certainly go ahead and start looking at hiring someone, which means I would then have to invest time in putting out products and charge people for products, or I can simply build my base around, organizations that are going to pay me to come in and teach and lecture. So that's my immediate goal. So the cool part is I'm very, very pleased to report, and I'll be updating my online calendar tomorrow. So if you want to know like what's coming up with me, you can go to my website, which I'll get it on the screen right here. And up on the top, there's a tab there called Learn from Joe. And there's 4 choices: video consultations, mentoring, lectures and workshops, book me for an event. So video consultation simply means that I'll do a 1-hour consultation with you face-to-face via video so that we can talk about anything from marketing to technical issues you're having, portfolio reviews, you name it. Mentoring, I do offer 1-day workshops, personalized, customized for you here in my studio, the one that you see in YouTube. So it's one-on-one. We talk about anything. It can be shooting techniques, it can be lighting, it can be gear, it can be business, you name it. And then, of course, the lectures and workshops are my traveling. So if you click on that link, that will take you to my calendar. But here's some of the cool stuff to report. So number one, if you're coming to WPPI, which is the end of next month in Las Vegas, so that's the, I believe, 26th, 27th, and 28th of February, I will be giving 8 talks at WPPI. Going to be a busy 3 days. I'll be doing 6 talks on the Olympus stage. It's the same talk. You'll have 6 opportunities to see me, okay? And it's also the same talk that I did in Nashville. So if you missed it, get your butt to Vegas and you'll be able to see it. And then I'll also be doing 2 different demos in the booth for Interfit photographic, the folks that make the honey badgers. So they're going to have a little studio set up, literally like a 10 by 10 studio set up at the end of their booth. And they'll have photographers coming in to do in-booth demos with the honey badgers and also the S1 and the S1A strobes, which are kind of like the ones similar to the Pro Photos. So I will be doing 2 demos there. I will have the schedule for all of those talks updated on my website later tonight. It will be there. So if you're going to make the WPPI, please make sure you come and see me. And stay tuned over the next couple of weeks because we're going to run a little prize giveaway. So you're going to want to come see me if you want to win the prize. So you're going to need to track me down. But the good part is I'm pretty much going to be in one of 2 places the entire 3 days. We'll also be doing an event for my patrons at kind of a get together in Vegas because a lot of my patrons are out on the West Coast. So we will be there. And oh, Interfit is here. Awesome, gang. So yeah, So they're here, so I have to be careful what I say. It's not bad, but I'm not supposed to say too much. But all I will tell you is this, okay? If you're going to WPPI, yes, you better come see me speaking at Olympus, and hopefully you come see me speaking at Interfit. But Interfit has got some really, really cool stuff that they're going to announce at WPPI. So, and I'll tell you right now, I only know little pieces, and it's really cool. So I can't wait to see the rest of it because I still don't know what all of it is. All right. But make sure you stop by and check out what they're going to bring to market because trust me, cool stuff. Okay. These guys are like, not playing any games. They mean business. They are really doing some awesome stuff. Okay. So, Steven just asked about my Patreon link. Steven, let me get you that Patreon link here real quick and I will paste it in there. For those of you that don't know what Patreon is, and I don't want to give you like a whole commercial here, but just to tell you, Patreon is a way that you can support creators like myself. Okay. And when I say support, like I'm not looking for somebody to pay my bills. You can commit to as little as $1 per month. Okay. You can do $1 per video. You can do, well, if you really want, you can do $100 per video, but come on, seriously, that's crazy. You can do $1 per month and it gives you access to patron only content that I don't post on YouTube or on social media. It also gives you access to stuff that I have available as resources, like for instance, what are the proper file sizes, both in terms of pixels and megabytes and that for social media, and that's constantly updated. So anytime there's a change, that gets posted. And most importantly, it gives you access to our Friday night Zoom chats. Every Friday night at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time in the US, we use the Zoom technology so that any patron that wants to can join us with a video camera and a microphone, and we all have a conversation. And some nights we talk about marketing. Some nights we talk about specific shooting techniques or problems that somebody's having. We've done a lot of cool stuff. Even we had one of our members was getting ready to photograph one of the contestants from the television show The Voice. And so we walked him through, he had an idea, and we helped him, basically walk through all the things that he needed to be concerned with, all the lighting setups and everything. Shots turned out awesome. So we not only do we have a lot of fun, but we do a lot of cool stuff. And the Zoom chats, if you can't make it at that time, they are basically archived. So if you're a patron, you can watch it at your convenience. Okay. So a lot of cool speaking engagements coming up. Somebody asked me about the workshops in Texas. This is not 100% definite yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at Fort Worth Camera in May for their big Photo Fest event that they do. I can't tell you any more about that because I haven't actually signed the contract yet, but it's all coming along and I think I will be there. I will most likely, if all goes well, be there for Olympus and be doing some fashion portraiture, kind of a demo / workshop, that kind of stuff. So you're going to see a lot of speaking engagements, a lot of opportunities to learn from me one-on-one hitting that calendar. So bookmark it, check back, it's coming. Okay. All right. So enough about me. You guys are here to learn some photography, right? So let's try and, solve some problems and go from there. So, I see some really nice words here about patron. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I mean, we have a good time and seriously, basically what it is, guys, it's giving you that, one-on-one, ability to get advice, to get mentoring, to have questions and problem solved, without basically having to pay for a full consultation. What you're trading there is are sharing that learning experience with as many other people that show up for that particular, Patreon chat. But that option is another option that's there for you. So, Al B's got a question here. For a paid event such as a wedding, if you can only have one helper, do you think a second shooter or a lighting assistant is best? I would say, Albie, why can't you have both? And what I mean is, I got it. You can only have one person. Why can't that person do a little bit of both? Depending on your shooting style, as far as doing weddings, it would be completely reasonable to have a situation where that person's going to second shoot certain aspects. Because if you really think about the whole process of a wedding, there's plenty of times in a wedding where you don't really need the second shooter. So, and now a lot of those are also the times where it's nice to have a lighting assistant. So, for instance, like, the couple's first dance, even doing like the garter tosses and the bouquet tosses and the putting on and removing of the garter and the cutting of the cake, especially a lot of reception things, you don't really need, if you're putting a little bit of forethought into your camera angles and all that kind of stuff, you don't really need to have that second shooter for that. But those are situations where it's actually really, really helpful to have the lighting assistant. So I would actually encourage you, if you don't have one person, have them do a little bit of both. D-Mac, you must have got here a few minutes late. I do offer private coaching. Follow that link that I just pasted in there into the chat window, or since I'm still on my website, you look on the screen here, the Learn from Joe tab. You'll be able to get all of that information, okay? Once you read through that, if you have questions, by all means, message me, and I'll do my best to answer your questions in terms of setting one up and all that kind of stuff. So, Stefano K's got Parminda, thank you so much for your super chat here. And actually, you know what? Before I get into Stefano's question, let me get back up to Anand's, because he also did a super chat. So Anand, again, thank you. So he's got an admittedly broad question. He started printing in the past month and sort of jumped in the deep end. That's code for I spent way too much money on a printer and ink and paper. Been there. I know that line. Okay. What might be the 2 to 3 important things to consider for the prints? You're starting with contrast. Well, I don't know. I mean, when you say 2 to 3 important things, this is probably not the answer you're looking for, Anand. So, I gave up printing a bunch of years back because I was hardly ever printing and I was just wasting ink because the ink was drying out. So that being said, I'm really happy not to be printing. In fact, it was really kind of exciting. I prepped a bunch of files this morning. So I did a shoot today. If you follow me on social media, you know that. But before I started this morning, I prepped a bunch of files to send off to Olympus, because if you make it to WPPI, some of my images will be really, really big on the side of their booth. So it's the first time I've prepped images for printing, like, in ages, probably a couple of years, actually. The things that I would say to you are the most important things to consider would actually be things like, make sure you have properly read your printer manual. Make sure that you have learned as much as you can, and Google and YouTube, excellent resources, learn as much as you can about prepping your images for printing, about printing techniques. If you're going to get into printing, and especially since you use the phrase you jumped in the deep end, I'm betting that you did indeed buy a rather expensive printer. You want to make sure that you really understand the concept of color space. You want to understand which color spaces are going to be best for you, etc. So honestly, that's the stuff that I would tell you straight up that you really need to get into with that before you start worrying about contrast and all that other stuff. Because if you don't have things set up in terms of your profiles, your color spaces and all that, you're just going to be chasing your tail constantly to try and get consistently good print quality. So honestly, that's where I would highly recommend that you start with that. Okay. So I see Nate here is asking if I've ever considered doing a Teespring store with a few shirts, famous phrases, whatnot. So here's the thing. So I'm the guy that teaches you guys about marketing, right? So I'm kind of hanging my head in shame here. Nate, I did that ages ago. Here's the link. If you guys want to go look, if you're interested in t-shirts with your best shot is your next shot and all that kind of stuff, they exist. They're there. I think I sold a whopping 6 shirts. Not kidding. When I started the whole thing, which was indeed about a year ago, I marketed it aggressively, and literally like nothing happened. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of let it drop. It's still there. I have some future plans to try and kind of get it revived and get it going a little bit better. But yeah, you can go buy shirts right now. I'm just kind of ashamed to admit I have not marketed it as well as I should have, but I kind of realized I need to make some tweaks to the whole setup. So that's my excuse. I'm sticking with it, right? Okay. But yeah, if you order a shirt now, everything's set up. You know, you usually get your shirt in like 2 to 3 days. I think it takes for them to ship out. So, you know, that's very doable. So, Snyder Motorsports, thanks for the video about the honey badgers, Joe. They've stepped up my game by 100. Hey, that's awesome, man. I love them. In fact, the shoot that I did today, I was using the honey badgers all day. I did one shot with the LED lights off the honey badgers, and then all the other stuff with the strobes. Absolutely love those things. They're great. So, DMAC, I just subscribed to your site a few days ago and I've been trying to play catch up. A lot of great content. Thank you, man. I'm glad to have you here. Yeah, gosh, if you just subscribed, you got a lot of catching up to do. But DMAC, so there's something here that you'll hear me talk about at the end of the night if you're here till the end of the show tonight. So please, do me a favor. You're not going to hear any other YouTubers say this. I'm honored that you are enjoying the content and that you're following me and that you're here. But I do this because I want to see people improve. I do this because I want people to learn. So you got to promise me for every minute that you spend watching one of my videos, you will spend at least 2 minutes with a camera in your hand. Otherwise, you're doing it wrong. Because you can watch all my videos and you'll have a bunch of stuff stored up here, but it's not going to do you any good until you go pick up that camera and actually put it to use and try it and experiment with it, okay? So please do watch all the videos, but I want you to promise me that you, for every minute you watch, spend at least 2 actually taking pictures. Lee Cartwright, thank you very much, man. I'm glad, I appreciate the super chat, and I'm glad that helped. Do some research on your triggers, find out what the sync speed is, and I think you're going to find that's where the issue is, okay? All right, so let's see here. It might cause trouble, just type that in. Okay, private coaching, I'm scrolling back up here. Okay, we did Al B's question. And let's see. John Quinn, how do I work on expanding my portfolio? Most of the models in my town, San Antonio, Texas, seem to be only interested in paid gigs and have zero intention to do TFP. The local Craigslist listings are filled with creeps who are looking for hot girls, and posting there seems to not bear any results. Okay, so Guion, there's a couple things that I will tell you. You didn't mention where you're currently looking for your models that want paid gigs and don't do TFP, but based on that language, I'm going to assume that you started out like on a website like Model Mayhem, okay? So, number one, you can't blame girls for wanting to get paid. Now, that doesn't mean you should pay them. Everybody pause before I, start getting hate mail here. Just bear with me. Let me finish. But you can't blame somebody for asking, right? You don't get what you don't ask for. I'm just the messenger, folks, so don't shoot me. But, generally in the amateur modeling world, which is exactly what you're referring to when you start talking about sites like Model Mayhem and Craigslist and all that stuff, there's a very simple economy. Get naked, get paid. Stay clothed, do it for fun. I didn't write the rules. I'm just saying that's how it works, right? So that being said, there's a balancing point. You might be reaching too high, meaning maybe you have really high standards and you're going after the most amazing models with the best portfolios, and they're looking at your work because you're just starting out and saying, he's not that good, so I'm not going to work with him unless he pays you. You start out, you need a lot of practice. Now, I don't know your work. I'm not familiar with your images, but my hunch is based on the way you're asking my questions or asking the questions, you're just getting the ball rolling. That's fine. But that means you just need a warm body in front of the camera. That's what you need first, and worry less about your portfolio. If you're at a point where you're feeling like you really have lighting mastered and you are able to do good work, if you've gotten to that point, that means you've done a lot of shooting, and that also means that you've got work that people will be willing to get in front of your camera without getting paid. So, there's a little bit of back and forth. I see that Robert Beschel made some notes in here about the Facebook groups, which indeed are true. But again, it's still amateurs. But, the other thing you can do literally is do an Instagram search for, if you're in San Antonio, do like hashtag San Antonio models or model San Antonio. And you will find girls that use that hashtag in their posts. They're looking to model. So that's another way, to find people. But the bottom line is, again, just keep asking. Just keep asking and keep asking. Especially if you're just starting, you simply need people in front of your camera. That first and foremost, you just got to shoot and get practice. And then, obviously there's kind of an evolution that you go through. You get to the point where, okay, I feel like I've got the process down. I'm turning out quality work, but the only way I'm going to improve my shots now is to start getting more attractive people with better skill sets and start working with a hair and makeup artist, etc. So, those are kind of the steps that you're going to go through along the way. Okay. Christian, how many times have you forgotten to take the lens cap off? Was on a cruise this weekend and figured I'd try a time lapse, set everything up and such, came back 5 hours later and forgotten it. Woo! Well, fortunately, I've never done that one. I've forgotten to take the lens cap off plenty of times, but, one test shot and I know that it's still on. So, yeah, that's kind of a bummer. So, yeah. So, that's definitely kind of a bummer. So, all right. Other questions we had here. Vidad asked me a question a little bit. Hang on a second here. Pause. Alex, I'm going to pay, or you're going to attend WPPI next month. I was wondering though, should I join Photo Plus or just pay the $276 for the expo? All right. So I probably shouldn't say this right before I go to Photo Plus, right? But don't join Photo Plus, man. Okay. So here's the thing. Don't take my word for it. Do a little research, right? Photo Plus and the Photo Plus Expo in New York in October, and WPPI, which is Wedding and Portrait Photographers International, they are both run by the same organization. And it is basically a marketing organization. It's not a true photography organization. In fact, I think it's still in my trash can, actually. I just got my notification for, see here, it actually is like, it's torn up. I just threw it out. Mine came up for renewal. I did join for a year. I wanted to see what the organization was all about. Now, in all fairness to them, did I really, really, really take advantage of everything they were offering? No. But are they offering a lot? No, not at all. Okay. You have these two big conferences, WPPI and Photo Plus in New York. If you're a member, you can go to the educational classes they have, and the educational classes are good. You get 2 subscriptions by doing it, PDN and Rangefinder magazine. They're, and again, keep in mind, I may be shooting myself in the foot here because I've been written about in both of these and it's very helpful to what I do. But there's nothing that shows up in these magazines that you can't find on the better blogs like Petapixel and DIYphotography.net and even F-Stoppers. So my sincere advice, no, don't join the organization. If you want to join an organization because you're going to be doing portraits of weddings, join PPA, Professional Photographers of America. That's the group to join. That is a real, at its base, photography organization run by photographers. The president on down, they are photographers that run that organization, okay? Excellent educational opportunities. They're the folks that run Imaging USA, where I was just at in Nashville. But I would encourage you, go to WPPI for sure, if for nothing else than to see me. But definitely don't pay for the membership, and don't pay to go to WPPI, gang, at all. You can get, if you do a little searching, you can get free expo passes to go to WPPI. You don't need to pay to get in. Okay, and it's not expensive, but you don't need to pay. You can get free expo passes. If you're having a hard time finding links, go to the exhibitor list. Look for some of the bigger companies, and frequently a lot of the bigger companies will actually be given as part of their booth registration. They'll be given X number of free passes to give out, and so you can register on their websites and get a free pass. So that would be my honest advice. I wouldn't join Photo Plus. If you're looking for an organization that you're going to be able to learn from and it's going to give you some support, then PPA is definitely the way to go. And actually, Gian, that's a great point. And I usually talk about that. You beat me to it. PPA, Professional Photographers America, as part of your membership, you get $15,000 worth of camera insurance included. That alone is worth the cost of the membership. Okay. But definitely check it out. Okay. So Haley Kelso, I have a question about some studio lighting. I work in a small room, headshots for pageant girls, looking into the Godox SK400 2 and a beauty dish. Yay or nay on this light? So, Haley, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know that light. Give me half a second here. I have a feeling it's a little bit more light than you really need, especially if you're working in a small room. But let's see here. I am pulling it up. And, oh, okay, you're not in the U.S. That's why I don't know about that light. It's all good. So let's see here. Nate, man, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate the super chat, okay? So it's got the Godox 2.4 transmitter in it. I'm trying to see what power this thing is. So, I mean, actually, Haley, it looks like it would be a great light to work with. The price is sweet. I mean, $145. It's definitely not super powerful, but you don't need a ton of power if you're working in a small space. The whole idea of, power with strobes, people tend to get a little bit carried away sometimes. The only other suggestion that I would make to you is if you are considering being able to shoot both kind of in a studio setting and on location, out and about, you might want to consider, looking at maybe like still the Godox line, but maybe like the AD200s. Can't believe I'm saying that because I wasn't real fond of them when they first came out. But I actually have been using them a lot now and really am beginning to enjoy them. So one of my patrons, by the way, I should say this so that it's very public and so that I can't be accused of anything. One of my patrons, a guy named Clint James, who's a great guy. He's also down in Texas. He got into a big debate with me because when I bought an AD200, this was a couple months back, and some of you heard me talk about it. I wasn't really happy about it. Most importantly, I was really, really irritated by the weight. They're heavy. They're like 2 pounds. That's a lot for a flash that looks and is built like a speed light, okay? So, and I wasn't real happy with the fact that you can't mount it easily in the same kind of mounts that you would use for speed lights. So I bought it. So here's the confession, folks. I bought it really with the mentality that it was kind of an upgraded speed light. Ishmael, thank you very much for the super chat. So, even Godox, though, they don't call it a speed light. They call it a pocket flash. It's kind of a new term that they coined, okay? So, I kind of trash talked the AD200 a little bit, and I admitted that I hadn't used it much, but my initial impressions, I was not happy, which means it was a dumb purchase on my part. I didn't research it thoroughly, had no idea about the weight. So just to be full disclosure, finally a couple weeks ago, I had a chance to start really experimenting with it a little bit. And I'm not a TTL guy. I don't need the high-speed sync. I work on manual, but I will say that I really love the ease and simplicity of the way I can control these from the controller. And as much as you guys know, I was using the Luma Pro speedlights, which I love them. They're great. I still highly recommend them. The problem that I ran into is when I switched over to Olympus, the triggers for those will not work on Olympus and be able to control the power. So that being said, I was still able to fire them from the Olympus, but I couldn't change my power settings. So I was back to having to walk back and forth. So I'm the kind of guy, like, I will sometimes do things a little bit impulsively just to force myself. So I broke one of my cardinal rules last weekend when I was teaching in Nashville for Olympus. I decided about a week before I packed up to go to Nashville, you know what? I'm going to do this demo with the 8200s. So I picked up a second one that arrived 2 days before I got on the plane, and I went to Nashville. And for the first time that I used them like properly in a shoot, it was actually on stage for Olympus. So I thought, you know what? Trial by fire. I'm going to throw myself in with these things. They're either going to work well or not going to work well. They performed wonderfully. I still have a little bit more getting comfortable with them to do, but I do see myself using them quite a bit more. So you'll see them showing up in some of my videos. You'll hear me talking about them more. The video that came out just this past weekend, which is the one that's right there. Oh, there, it's on that side right there. That one uses the 8200s. So you might want to check it out, but you'll be seeing me use them more as we go along. Okay. So Gerard, for speed lights, is there a conversion table from guide number to watt seconds? Not really. And the reason being, different companies calculate their guide numbers with different flash zoom settings. So it's kind of a cheat. And as a result, it's like all over the board. So the simple rule of thumb, and this is just a rule of thumb, speed lights are generally less powerful than studio strobes, etc. But honestly, the most effective way to really compare, and kind of get an apples to apples comparison is actually to have both the strobes in front of you and test with a light meter. That's going to be the most effective way to truly compare. Decklock rule is a 4-letter word. You are absolutely correct. So Ishmael, your question, or am I familiar with the 1/250th sync speed trick? Is there a way to beat the 2/50th barrier when your DSLR does not support high-speed sync? If yes, can it be done with manual speed lights? Maybe you can briefly explain. So, okay, everybody follow along. This is actually a great question, and it's a confused question. Ishmael, I don't mean that in a mean way. I want to break it down for you. But so, depending on what you're doing, there's absolutely no reason to do what you're asking. So let's take a step back. Think one more time. Let me go through his question. The 2/50th sync speed trick, is there a way to beat that? In other words, he wants to shoot at a higher shutter speed, even though his camera doesn't support high-speed sync, okay? So the first question I would ask you, Ishmael, is why? I want you to type me an answer and explain why you need to shoot higher to 250 a second, and specifically what shutter speed you would like to shoot at. So those two things. And then I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to point out that I don't think you're actually thinking this through properly, but we're going to get you a solution. So give me that answer. Why do you need to shoot at a higher shutter speed, and what shutter speed do you want to shoot at? Okay, Haley, you're very welcome. I hope that helps out. So Kirsten wants to know from Interfit, is there any way to fire my honey badgers in live view other than optically triggering using a flash on camera? I take a lot of self-portraits, so live view. Kirsten, use the LED modeling lights. The LED modeling lights are like 60-watt LEDs. Those are bright suckers. If you go back through my recent videos, I've been shooting a lot of stuff with the LEDs on the honey badgers, not firing the flash, shooting with the LEDs as the light source. In fact, I did that today. Okay, that's how I started my shoot today. But several of my more recent videos, I've done that. And in fact, here, do I have it here? I don't have it queued up that I can show you. But yeah, a few of my more recent videos, I did that. So Mike Osinski, I have the S-type bracket, and I'm using that. I'm not a huge fan of the bracket. I'm going to be honest. It works. It totally works. It's not an ideal bracket situation. It's just not. I would rather have something that really that really kind of mounts a little bit better. But Photo Melky, gonna go with Pro Photo. Hey, good for you, man. I'll keep my bank account intact. Thank you. Okay. You want to look at some real strobes, and if you like Pro Photos, look at the Interfit S1 and S1A. Awesome strobes. A heck of a lot more reasonably priced, and they match the Pro Photos. So I would take a look at that. So Parminda, I just brought the ePhoto Photography Video Portrait Studio Lighting Kit, Photo Umbrella Continuous Lighting Kit. Parminda, I'm sorry, I know nothing about that kit, man. I don't know what that includes. I'm not a gear junkie. So if you want to tell me a little bit more like about what's in it and that kind of stuff. Here's the thing though, Parminda, before you tell me any more information, you're saying I bought this kit. What do I think of that kit? Well, I think that kit's a piece of crap. Only because it wouldn't meet my needs. So all I'm trying to say is your question's off, right? How can I really give you a helpful answer if I don't know what you're trying to do? So what do you intend to do with it? And you can't just say, well, I want to shoot portraits. Well, are you shooting portraits outside? Are you shooting portraits inside? On location? Do you have a set space? Those are all factors that really kind of impact what I think of that set. This is where I give people a hard time about opinions in photography, because opinions are frequently so pointless. So if I just answer your question straight up on face value, I think it's a bit of a toy set and it doesn't do any good for me. But it may be perfect for you. So give me a little bit more context about what you're trying to do, and then I definitely will dig in a little bit more and try and give you a much better answer. So Let's see. Josh, glad you just found me from Manila, man. That's awesome. Okay. John Quinn, your background in landscape and street photography makes you hesitant to use artificial light, the only light you have your kit. And that's fine. What would I recommend for a newbie? Again, John, it depends on what you want to shoot. When you say use artificial light for what, guys? Okay. The Nikon SP700 Speedlight's artificial light, but are we talking about portraits? So keep in mind, remember, I'm a portrait photographer. You guys see my videos? I shoot portraits, right? Fashion portraits, beauty portraits, regular portraits. So that's, on the edges of that, I do a little bit of, fashion, that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that you got to give me a little bit better context there. So, okay, so here's the follow-up for Ishmael, because sometimes on locations outdoors, he wants to shoot at a low aperture to get good bokeh, etc. Okay, so here we go with the bokeh thing. So you want to shoot at 2,000 to 4. So, Ishmael, for one, so I said this before, and I know that I will really upset some people along the way, but so be it, okay? What you're asking to do is you're asking to do what every other hack photographer is doing today, which means it's just boring as hell because everybody's doing it. Okay. So, if that's really what you want, there's no hack. Go out and buy a high-speed sync setup. Okay. But understand that back in the 1970s, we overpowered the sun without high-speed sync. And, it's all about being a little bit creative about selecting your backgrounds, selecting where you put your subject for lighting. So many people that ask me these questions, and I'm not saying you, but I'm saying in general, the people that are all about high-speed sync, like, oh my God, I have high-speed sync. They're just lazy. They're just ridiculously freaking lazy. You guys should go check the video that I have on my channel about how to shoot portraits outdoors in bright sunlight. If you pay close attention, I never put the model in bright sunlight. That's how you shoot portraits outdoors in bright sunlight. And I get amazing bokeh. Look at the headshots. Look at the headshot that's the cover art for that, okay? I get amazing bokeh. Why? Because I have her back to the sun and she's in the shade and the sun's out. The sun's in the picture. That's the sunlit areas in the picture. But, again, it's all about understanding light, how to, work through things. Rough shots, yeah. I mean, the problem with working with an ND filter to do what Ishmael's asking about when you're shooting people, everything's so damn dark looking through the viewfinder, you can't see it properly. I don't mind using ND filters if the camera's on a tripod and I'm, doing a landscape or something. But working with people, using an ND filter is just, a nightmare. Ishmael, you got to understand there's more than one way to get bokeh. Like, your question proves that you don't properly understand depth of field and how to control it. You can get nice bokeh at apertures other than 1.8 or 1.2. So the problem is you've backed yourself into a corner because you're doing the zombie thinking. Zombie-tographer meaning you're following what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is all about bokeh. Shoot wide open. There are YouTube photographers that say, why would you buy a 1.8 lens and not shoot at 1.8? I'm sorry, that's the dumbest damn thing I've ever heard. Period. You buy a 1.2 lens because there are times where that 1.2 will be of value to you, or 1.8? Absolutely. But to say that because it's a 1.8, you've got to shoot at 1.8? Come on. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Because if you understand depth of field, what's that old phrase? There's more than one way to skin a cat? Well, yeah, there's more than one way to get a blurry background. In fact, there's 4 ways to get a blurry background. But that requires that you actually understand depth of field, meaning you have to actually learn photography. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that you've got to really work on. So I'm not saying don't get high speed sync. I'm not saying don't shoot at 1.8. Let's be clear. And so that we're clear, Joe doesn't hate high speed sync. I hate when people chase it because everybody else is doing it. And I hate when they spend the money for it without understanding how to solve the problem without it. High-speed sync, guys, all it is, it's a convenience feature. But it's only a convenience if you understand how to do it without. So many of you buy high-speed sync and go out and use it, but you don't really know any other way to solve the problem. And that's not good. Okay. Yeah, Nate, man, it sucks, but you actually have to learn how to use your camera. If you want to take great pictures, unfortunately, it requires using this. Like, it just does. Okay. So, people say all the time, oh, Joe hates high-speed sync. I don't hate high-speed sync. High-speed sync is like an awesome feature. It has its place. It has its uses. But it's ultimately not going to benefit you if you don't really understand what it's doing for you. And that's the challenge. So my point is, you can get that creamy bokeh and all that stuff using 4 things, not just one. So you guys are all pigeonholing yourselves because like, oh, I got to shoot wide open. And then the same photographers that are, I got to shoot wide open. I bought a 1.8 lens. I got to use it at 1.8. Those are the same photographers that are always whining because they forget and they let the subject turn their face and then one eye is out of focus. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you get the people that'll post the picture where the person's face is turned and one eye is out of focus. And they make it a point to tell you in the comments, I like it with one eye out of focus. Yeah, you do. Come on. So yeah, I mean, again, nothing wrong with high-speed sync, but if you're going to spend the money, learn what it's really about and learn how to solve the problems without it. And then it's really a convenience, and you're going to get better work as a result of it. Okay. I literally have never shot with high-speed sync because I have no need. If I want that blurry background and I'm outside in daylight, I'll do it with depth of field. Period. So, okay. Let's see. Antonio, I use a 50mm f1.4 in studio photos, and many times I find my lens not sharp. In fact, almost for the distance about my place, do you know other similar distance focals? Good. Wow. Okay, so I have a feeling we're not dealing with English here. Well, okay, Antonio, give me a little more feedback here. Are you shooting primarily like at 1.4, in which case that's why your pictures aren't sharp? Or are you shooting another aperture? So give me a little bit more feedback because I need a little more information to actually help you there, okay? David, I was using my 72-inch umbrella with a diffuser for a shoot, and it was about 10 to 15 feet from my subject. Okay, well, David, you got to go back and you got to watch my video about the inverse square law, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude by laughing, okay? I'm laughing because we're getting a lot of zombie questions tonight, gang, all right? We just are. So, David, what you got to do is this, all right? Here's my YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel, click on the little magnifying glass up the top, type inverse square law, okay? And you need to watch the video that comes up right there. Now, you are working with a ridiculously huge umbrella. 72-inch umbrella, man? Like, what do you need a 72-inch umbrella for, right? I'm just saying. I get it. They look really cool because they're huge. They would come in really handy if you ever had to jump off of something. But what do you need a 72-inch umbrella for? But here's the problem. You're working with a 72-inch umbrella and you moved it 15 feet away. Well, a 72-inch umbrella 15 feet from your subject is not very big. You've just made it smaller. And you're asking about a hotspot. Well, the problem with your question is, I don't know anything about were you shooting through the umbrella or were you bouncing in the umbrella? What were your power settings on your strobe? How high was the umbrella set? How was it angled? How tall is your subject? Etc. Okay? There's a bunch of reasons you could have a hotspot, but part of what you're dealing with is in your mind, somebody's probably told you, big light source, soft light. I'm sure that's why you bought a 72-inch umbrella. Big light source, soft light. But if you take a big light source that's going to give you soft light and you move it way away, it ain't that soft anymore. It's just not. Okay? So, and that's why you need to watch that video about the inverse square law. And you really need to get your head wrapped around it because just like the exposure triangle where one thing goes up and it gets bigger and smaller and all that in opposite directions, things work backwards with the inverse square law. So you need to really get your head wrapped around it. This video breaks it down, real simple, real basic, lots of visuals. You probably need to watch it more than once, sincerely, okay? But get your head wrapped around the inverse square law and you're going to understand why you're running into a problem. But if you tell me a little bit more about the specifics, I can maybe try and break down the exact situation you have in that you're dealing with right now. Plus, I'd be curious about, like, how many other lights were you using? You got to give me a little bit more background. But again, 72-inch umbrella, 15 feet from your subject. You're kind of defeating the purpose of using the 72-inch umbrella. Okay, so, all right, let's get to some of the other ones here. Dan Dre's had a question. I'll go ahead and weigh on this one. What are your thoughts on the Ohio wedding photographer photoshopping the overweight couple without their permission? I have not read the article, so I do not know all the details. I have seen the headlines, and so I understand, the gist of what's happening, that the couple went public and did a whole big, social media blast. They feel they were fat shamed and all that. This is one of those situations where you gotta side for the couple. The photographer was a moron, in my opinion. Period. Okay. I retouch the crap out of almost everything I shoot. Okay. And I make no apologies for it. But I'm shooting fashion portraits. I'm shooting fantasy. If a person comes to me and pays me to do their portrait or to do a wedding, sorry guys, lips are really chapped. If I think that I should maybe like tuck their chin or that kind of stuff, I am going to ask them about it first. Absolutely. Okay. Maybe I would show them a sample and say, hey, I don't know, what do you think? But no, would I take somebody's wedding and just go ahead and do all that? No, I think that was just a really stupid move on the photographer's part. And my understanding is the photographer just, and again, I don't know the whole story, but my understanding is the photographer came out and did the mea culpas and apologized and all that. So I have a feeling this, again, is one of those things, social media blew it up much, much bigger than it is. It was a mistake, and the person owned the mistake. My understanding is they did try to kind of make reparations in terms of either a refund or something like that. So I don't know that it's one of those things that needs to be hashed over and over again, but yeah, not really a great choice. I have had times where I've been working with clients and felt that they could use a little nip or tuck based on what the intended use of the shot's going to be, but I'll discuss that with them straight up. So, okay. So Wilson Photo, in a good way, you remind your math teacher. He'll make sure you learn the manual process before you use the calculator. Yeah, I mean, Wilson, that's the only way you're going to learn it. I mean, I've learned that lesson the hard way, but that's the only way you're going to learn it. So, Richard Harkins, on an average portrait, how much time do you spend processing the image in Lightroom report and Photoshop? If it's just a basic portrait, like a portrait where somebody wants a shot for business use or social media, probably not more than 15 minutes. If it's one of my, actually, I did some beauty shots today, some fashion portraits today, that will be part of an upcoming video and also part of the images that I'm delivering to Olympus to go in their booth. One of the shots will probably take me about an hour and a half. The other one will probably take me about 30 minutes. The one that's going to be an hour and a half is because of some effects that I want to create in terms of, I'm actually only going to use half the face. And there's a whole bunch of cognitive psychology here, but the goal is basically going to be to create a slightly unnatural looking face, but not so unnatural that it triggers the uncanny valley effect. And if you don't know what the uncanny valley effect is, Google it. It's a real thing. I promise. I'm not making that up, but it's all got to do with cognitive psychology and how we perceive faces and how basically what our gut response is. So there's some very specific things that I'm looking to do in the finished version of that shot. And then the other one, the reason it'll take me about a half an hour or so, if you saw my social media posts on Instagram today, I was doing stuff with material flying. It was actually kind of like an aviator / steampunk / Star Wars kind of thing. So there's a lot of randomness with material flying. When I do shots like that, it's not uncommon for me to maybe take the face from one and the material flying from another, or sometimes even to take, one shot, but then pieces of the material from another shot and kind of add it in or blend it in. So that's really where the extra time there goes. So, Tom, isn't Photoshop changing our perception of reality? Are young women, for example, trying to look like the cover of Vogue magazine, whose photos are meticulously lit and laboriously retouched? So, okay. Nah, you're really gonna make me talk about this, Tom. Okay, so let's touch on this really quick. Let me give you a super quick backstory. Okay, many of you know because I talked about it many times. My wife is a college professor. She is a cognitive psychologist. Thank God she's not a clinical psychiatrist. I'd be like in a straitjacket somewhere by now for sure. But basically, she studies the brain, etc. She has colleagues at her school in her psychology department that are clinical and social psychologists, and they study what's called women's image and that. And it basically deals with this idea of how women perceive themselves based on images in the media, etc. I frequently get into very big debates with these people. I will not name any names, but some of these professors that teach this, they teach with an agenda. They want to teach young women that they're being victims to the media, to the system. And I say that's crap. So let me explain something to you. Your question is, are young women, for example, trying to look like the cover of Vogue magazines? Yes, they are. Now, is that Photoshop's fault? No, it's not. Is that a photographer's fault? No, it's not. Is that Vogue magazine's fault? No, it's not. Does that mean we should stop retouching images? No, we shouldn't. And believe me, we won't. Okay, I just saw here JOJ's talked about, even like CVS. CVS just had that big thing, the pharmacy here in the U.S. They're not going to allow retouched beauty images anymore. Trust me, that'll last for about a month and it'll all come back. Here's the thing, gang. If you've ever worked in marketing or advertising, you know that marketing or advertising is extremely expensive, right? That's just a given. And believe me, in high-end marketing, when you're talking these major corporations, trust me, people don't go to the bathroom unless they have a statistic that says, now's the right time, do it. The reason being, there's too much money at play. So Nate Mann's saying it's the market's fault, really. Well, it is actually. It's the women's fault. Here's the simple math. Go stand in front of a Victoria's Secret store anywhere in the United States and watch the women coming in and out with the little pink bags. We all know, and we accept the fact, as do they, that almost none of those women will go home, put on that Victoria's Secret lingerie that they have just spent a crazy amount of money for, and look anything like the women in the Victoria's Secret ads. Yet, they flock to the Victoria's Secret stores, they spend crazy amounts of money on that lingerie, and they go home and they wear it. And they still don't look like those models. So here's the thing. If Victoria's Secret, which is owned by the Limited, by the way, based in Ohio, of all places, if they could sell more bras by having a size 12 or 14 woman in their ads, I guarantee you they would do that like that. They would not hesitate. It would happen immediately. But the fact is they can't, and their research proves that they can't. So they don't. So if we pass laws and say advertisers can't show skinny people in their ads, we are basically then negatively impacting businesses and saying you're not allowed to make money. Instead of making the media evil, instead of making companies evil, we need to make parents evil. Parents need to get more involved with their children and raise their children with the proper perspective on life. So the work that I do and all the retouching and all that, it's fantasy. It's my fantasy. So I will not be beholden to anyone's opinion of how I've made them feel, because that's not why I'm doing what I do. I do it for me. Now, if somebody's handing me money and say, Joe, I need you to take my picture, will you do that? Then I am beholden to them and only them with whatever creative choices are made. So I'm sorry, but it's not Photoshop's fault, Adobe's fault. It's not Photoshop's fault. It's not photographers' fault. It's unfortunately the fault does indeed lie with the market, and it ultimately lies with parents, because parents are not teaching their children the right values. They're not teaching their children what's real, etc. Okay, so Delta Dave, isn't applying makeup skewing the reality? Yeah. Okay. And what's wrong with skewing the reality? I mean, people generally agree that a woman wearing makeup looks prettier, more beautiful. I mean, that's been the case for hundreds of years. So, yeah, I mean, again, the media is not at fault here. The media is not bad. The magazines aren't bad. Sadly, most of these companies, like you guys watch the Dove Real Beauty campaign, you know, when that came out, all the women in the white underwear and everybody's like, oh, wow, look at this. Isn't this really great? Well, you're all suckers. If you thought that, oh my God, it's about time. It's about time. Somebody's recognizing that not every woman is a size 0 and we're showing real people. No, they didn't. When Dove came out with the Real Beauty campaign, the largest woman in the ads, the first time around was a size 8. Then they did it again and they got up to size 10. In the United States, don't take my word for it, in the United States, the average dress size sold at retail in the US is a size 14. We are a fat, overweight, and that's by doctor standards, by the way, just so you don't start shooting arrows at me, okay? A size 14 person by medical standards, unless they're really, really tall, is considered obese. That's the medical industry that makes that statement, not me. So I'm just quoting that, all right? So the fact of the matter is that, you know, we are a heavy, not healthy, overweight country. So to say that we need to be politically correct and we need to show people real and glorify that, I'm sorry, but I actually think that's foolish. It's a reality, but it's an unfortunate reality. So why don't we actually work on solving the real problem? And the real problem is we need to teach people how to be healthier, both physically and mentally. That's where the real solution lies. Okay, so end of that soapbox, because none of that's got anything to do with photography, okay? So let's scroll back up here. So let's see. Rush shots. I did a shoot with a model for a product shoot with directions for natural light, no Photoshop, straight out of the camera pictures. We both read that as no noticeable edits or lights. Pics were accepted. Yeah, and I mean, that's, again, every image needs to be developed, gang, period. That doesn't mean you have to, like, change a person's appearance or that kind of stuff, but every image needs to be developed, okay? James Lewis, got to watch your video on the MagMod hack. Have you tried the gels, grids, or MagBeam kit? I do. Sorry, I have them. I have not tried them all yet. I'm just starting to experiment with them, but I'm having a ton of fun with the MagMods. You guys are going to see me do a lot more stuff with the MagMods because I've already figured out a bunch of MagMod hacks. So I am going to share them all. That mag bounce that I use. So here, I'll give you guys a little tip that it's coming. That mag bounce that I used in that video, I figured out how to turn it into a beauty dish. And it's freaking amazing how well it works. Really, really well. So yes, I'm going to share all that stuff with you guys in an upcoming video very, very soon. So let's see. Gian Quinn, I saw an advert for Corel's Aftershot Pro 3. Would you recommend this photo editing program? No, definitely not. Corel is like, no, sorry. Nick Britton, Affinity Photo. Not a fan of that too. If you ask me, the #1 up-and-coming Photoshop competitor. Now, keep in mind that all these other companies like Affinity Photo, On1, Skylum, which used to be MacFun, is now Skylum, they're not straight up trying to compete with Photoshop. Almost none of them have retouching tools like Liquify and that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you the one that I really like. It's Luminar by Skylum. Sweet program. And I've got a little bit of inside information about some of the new features that are coming. All I can tell you is that they are really going after Lightroom in a big way. So obviously right now Luminar doesn't have any kind of digital asset management to it, but it's coming and it's going to be really, really well done. So yeah, I definitely think there's going to be some competition for Adobe, which it's about time. But when it comes to high-end retouching, it's still pretty much Adobe. Done. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So I do hope that changes, and I think it will, but I don't see anything that's even close to making that happen yet. Okay. Christian, what's my preferred way of showing my portfolio? The cruise that you mentioned, a band manager asked him to show your portfolio, fishing for a gig, so fingers crossed. So it just got me wondering. Well, I mean, something like that. If you're gonna be like on a cruise and you're showing your stuff or whatever, it's great to have like an iPad with you or a tablet. At a minimum, have it on your phone, but you should only be showing your portfolio on your phone when you're like completely unprepared. It's like you just happen to meet somebody, like, you're at a restaurant and it comes up in conversation, you want to show them some pictures, then it's great. But actually, iPads, tablets, laptops are great for showing portfolios. I haven't done a printed portfolio in probably 20 years, literally. There's no reason, because I'm not going to carry that around all the time. So, but I always have an electronic device with me, always. So that would be my advice there. Okay. Let's see here. So some other questions I had. Steven Steger, I have a client who uses a variety of social media and has asked you to resize images to make it easier for her to upload. What is the best use across a broad number of social media? It's really hard to do a one-size-fits-all. I will tell you that if you join my Patreon program, Steven, I have that always updated social media size list that's available that you'll get access to. But if you're looking for a one-size-fits-all, I would basically say do 1200 pixels, 1200 pixels wide, and that's going to cover you for most situations. But ideally, in a perfect world, if you want your images to look the best, you're going to size your images specifically for the social media outlet that you are posting them on. That's always going to get you the best quality, period. Because all of these social media outlets, they tend to impact your images with some type of compression or that type of stuff. Plus, you know, when they do the resizing and that, they're not always using the best ways to, you know, resave the images, etc. So I would avoid letting the websites resize your images whenever possible. But if you had to pick a kind of a generic size, either 1,000 to 1,200 pixels would be your best bet. Okay. So let's see. James Tehan, any new DIY projects or videos coming up? God, if only my father was alive today. Kirsten, thank you so much. I say that because my father was an extremely mechanical man. He could take things apart, put them back together again. He was like amazing with stuff like that. He would get frustrated with me in kind of a humorous way because I could never remember which way to turn a screwdriver. And now, ironically, on YouTube, I'm known for DIY projects. I just really, really wish there was a way that he could know that, because it's sadly ironic. I think the next thing. Well, actually, I have two. That's not true, James. There's two things that I have coming up. And we're talking like over the next month. So before I go to WPPI, you're going to see the MagMod hacks. I'm going to talk more about the MagMods and some of the hacks that I've come up with for them. Specifically how I can use that mag bounce to create beauty dish type lighting. Remember that video I did with the shoot through umbrella where I turned it into a beauty dish? Well, this is even smaller yet using the MagMod, bounce. And then I have another cool lighting mod for a speed light modifier or for like the 8200s, the pocket flash from Godox, using a pasta box. So that's all I'm going to tell you about it. But it's actually really cool. Super easy to make. And if you want something that's a little sturdier and more durable than the pasta box, in the video I'm going to show you a way to basically make the same thing that is foldable, so you can fold it flat out of foam core. And I'm going to show you how to create kind of the tape hinges and everything so you can put this thing together. It becomes very durable. And that way you can pack it in a bag and take it with you and use it on location. It's pretty cool. So James Moffitt, thank you, man. I'm glad you were able to make it to PPA. It was really cool to see you there. I don't know if you've ever been out to WPPI, but it's another really good one. And it's definitely bigger than what imaging was. So let's see here. Gordon Smith, no one has really explained the purpose of the black and white cards that accompany a gray card. For exposure only, or they are for other uses? They look cool, man. Isn't that enough? No. Gordon, I won't lie to you. I don't know exactly what the thought process is. So I'm not even going to try and venture a guess. Okay. For me, I use the gray. That's it. For video, it used to be that the best way to calibrate a video camera was, with white. So there are a lot of gray cards out there. It's like gray on one side, white on the other. And that way you can use it, for the close-up shot for the video. Some DSLRs and some mirrorless cameras actually do custom white balance with white instead of gray and that. But specifically, no, I don't know. So I'm not even going to venture a guess. So let's see. Randall John, which YouTube channels would you consider to be at the forefront of teaching advanced Photoshop techniques? Florin is really good. Aaron Nace is like, he's the Photoshop god. So I would start there. And the other one, I feel really bad because this is going to sound horrible. I don't remember the guy's name. There's a guy that keeps popping up in my feed a lot lately. He's Indian. And it's really pathetic. I'm sorry I don't remember the guy's name. He's very happy but he's good. He's really good. I find his tutorials very easy to follow. very easy to understand. So, yeah, I'm really sorry. I promise you next week, if you're here, ask me again, and I promise you I will have his name, because I feel really bad that I don't remember the guy's name, because I've watched a couple of videos. But that's it, Pix Imperfect. But I can't remember his name. Kevin Kassar. Thank you. That's his channel name, Pix Imperfect. The guy's actually really good. And you guys think I'm hyper. He's hyper and really happy all the time. It's pretty cool, but he's good. So he is really, really good. So so Unmesh Dinda, is that it? Okay, Richard, thank you. Seriously. I mean, check the guy out. He is, like I said, him and Aaron Nace, as far as I'm concerned, two best out there. And beyond that, there are a lot of people doing some good stuff, but it's kind of hit or miss. So, those guys are consistently pretty good. So rough shots, repeating from earlier, what do you think of using shutter drag with off-camera flash for that dreamy look, kind of like your latest video? The problem is you seem to lose sharpness, especially in the eyes. Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to use shutter drag rough shots, only because, with shutter drag, you're involving ambient light. So that's you are gonna start to kind of lose softness, in that sense. So personally, for me, I wouldn't. No. Simi988, did I get my YouTube play button yet from YouTube? No. In fact, you know what? I just got to order it. So the way it is, like once you pass the 100,000 mark, I heard it takes a couple of weeks. It took like 5 weeks before I got the notification from them, and they send you like a special link, and then you can order it. And then it takes 6 to 8 weeks for you to get it. So I literally finally just ordered mine last week. So it'll be a while, but I promise I'll share it with you guys when it comes, because really it's because of you guys. So, all right, let's see here. Jan Quinn, the first time you asked somebody if they'd let you second shoot for the experience, they told you that you'd have to surrender copyrights to them. I backed out when I heard this. Yeah, so that's an interesting scenario there, Glenn. So I would say that you were smart for doing that, but I also completely understand why they requested that. So I'm not going to line up and say, well, that person's evil. I'm actually going to line up and say that person's smart. But I know that there are a lot of photographers that will let you second shoot. And as long as you're not marketing directly against them, they'll still let you use the images for your portfolio and even let you share them on social media and that kind of stuff. So it's simply a matter of kind of finding the right fit with a photographer that will work with you. But I can completely understand why they would make that choice. I think that it's a little bit overkill, but I get it. Let's put it that way. So, James Moffat, can you get me a seat at WPPI next to Scott Kelby? Yeah, hey, I don't know, man. I don't know. Trust me, I was quite shocked when I walked out and saw him sitting there. So it was kind of cool. So, let's see. Alex Laurent, is there anything comparable to the Magic Arm? Magic Arm. What are we talking about? Help me out there. I'm not sure what you're talking about. So I had a couple more questions early on. Let me try and get these out here really quick. James Parrish asked if I'm going to be bringing back any of the business videos, like the website videos and that kind of stuff. James, the short answer is yes. Exactly how, I don't know. So here, I will tell you guys this. So since we're getting close to the end, I want to tease something that's coming up. Starting next week, and I will be running a bunch of social media promotions this week to get the word out. In order for me to keep doing these TogChats, I need to get more people watching. Those of you that are here, a lot of you are like my diehard followers, and I love you and I appreciate it, but I've got to grow the numbers, period. So my big goal when I went to Imaging USA, aside from not making a fool out of myself since I was speaking on the Olympus stage, my big goal was to connect with some manufacturers. And for 2018, I wanted to start being able to give away prizes during TogChat. Good prizes, not who cares prizes, good prizes. So obviously in exchange for advertising, for these companies. So you guys have heard me talk about the folks at Hunt's Photo and Video in New England many, many times. Gary Farber, who's their marketing guy, is amazing, and he's been a big supporter of mine. Well, I happened to have a conversation with him at Imaging USA and mention it. And Gary, man, he's like, stay out of his way when he's got an idea. Literally within 24 hours, he had like 6 companies lined up for me that were willing to send me stuff to give away as prizes. And I'm talking good stuff. So next week, just to give you guys a hint, I can't tell you what brand it is yet. But next week, I will be giving away a prize during TogChat that's worth $100. Okay. So, and that's going to be like every week. My goal is to do it every single week. I'm going to have like really, really decent prizes. And then for the people that don't win, Hunt's Photo and Video in New England, they're going to give me discounts ranging anywhere from like 10 to 20%. If you want to buy it, you'll have a week, that same week, to go ahead and make a purchase and get it at a discount. So the reason why I mentioned that in answer to the question about the business videos is one of the companies that I worked with when I was doing the business videos was Format for Hosting. Well, they're back. They've got a new marketing team. They are looking to be very, very aggressive, and they are going to work with me. And in the past, you got a code from me where you could get like a month, your first month free. In fact, that code is still on my website. So now we're going to do giveaways where you get a year's worth of hosting free, and even a cash giveaway, a substantial cash giveaway. We're talking like maybe $500. Okay. So there are going to be prizes. Yeah, Thomas Palmer, A7R3s for everyone. No, that would be, you have to go search on YouTube. Look for that guy named Manny Ortiz. That's where you get the A7R3s for free. Okay, go check with him. So, or maybe Mr. Lanier will try that. But so anyway, obviously, you know, for Format, since they're a website company, I want to be able to do some of the marketing stuff, and people have been asking for it. Unfortunately, the big problem with doing the marketing stuff is just nobody was watching. It was a very, very small audience. So that is, you know, entirely my goal for this year is I've got to grow this TogChat audience. I love doing these, gang. I really, really do. And you guys that are here week after week after week are the guys that make this all worthwhile. And ladies, sorry. But yeah, I've got to grow it. So anyway, that's what's coming. So JOJ, the prizes are going to be available worldwide as long as I can ship them legally. So I'm the one that's actually literally handling, you know, the cost of the shipping. So yeah, the prizes will be coming to me. I'll be shipping them out. I am not going to limit to the United States as long as I am able to ship to your country. You know, if you're in a country where there's really crazy shipping costs for that, it, you know, may come on a slow boat. I'm not going to lie there, but yes, it will be open worldwide. I have viewers all over the place. So look for that on my social media this week, and do me a favor, okay? Please, when you see those posts on my social media, start sharing them. You know, I know all of you guys are involved in photography groups on Facebook. So spread the word, share the videos, share the posts, let people know. You know, the bigger that we get these numbers up, the better. Okay. So anyway, yeah, that's coming. Somebody also asked about whether or not I'm going to be doing video workshops. So I teased this last year, and I teased it too early. But yes, it's going to happen very, very soon. And that is I will be doing workshops for people all around the world from my location here. So if you have a webcam, you know, a laptop with a webcam, what'll happen is we'll do a full day workshop. You will be able to set up in your shooting space, whether it is in your garage, whether it's in your kitchen, wherever, and log in. I will do a demo, teach some things, and then you will turn around and you will try it in your space with your cameras, your gear, your lighting. You'll have a subject there, all that stuff. And then that way we can evaluate it. We can work on improving it. You're going to see a big announcement about that also within the next week or so. So all that's coming together. This is going to be a big teaching year. Lots and lots of opportunity. As I said early on in the beginning of the show, I could turn around and do what a lot of the other YouTubers do and, you know, buy my book, buy my presets, all that kind of stuff. I don't really want to do that. Okay. I see a lot of you guys saying 7 p.m. would be better. Here's the problem with that, guys. If we're doing this TogChat just for America, 7 p.m. is great. What works out great about 5:30 is, if you notice, there was a guy named Anand Kulkarni that came in the very beginning. Well, that's because he was waking up in Australia. And the people that watch this from like Europe, they have to stay up until like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. That's why Tony and Chelsea, if you ever notice, Tony and Chelsea go live at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. They're full like hour and a half earlier than me, and they do it so that they can pick up the European crowd. They lose the down under crowd. But unfortunately, yeah, the later I do it in the evening, then people else around the world won't be able to see it live. And the thing about live streams, even though they're archived and they stay on the channel and all that stuff, you only pick up about 1,500 to 2,000 views after it's live. So it's pretty much like people like to watch it live. Done. That's it. So anyway, that's a little bit of the the YouTube background stuff. So hey, listen, gang, I'm gonna sign off. Gosh, I'm only like 20 minutes late tonight. That's a record, I think. Hey, remember, for those of you that are all excited about this prize stuff, okay? Behind the scenes pictures, submit your stuff to tellus@promarkbrands.com. I want to see one of my followers win that prize again this week. It's a really sweet prize. It's a $260 prize, and you don't even have to use PhotoFlex gear, right? So come on, all right? And I've said this a lot of times. When you're shooting, especially if you're still learning, it's a great idea to shoot behind the scenes pictures of what you're shooting, not so that you can post them on Facebook or Instagram and look cool, so that you have them to remember, to go back like a week later, a month later, remember exactly what you did. How did you have things set up? Why did you set it up that way? So that you can learn from it. So that's actually the biggest reason for doing it. Okay. All right, gang. So listen, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you so much for all the questions, for all the super chats. Make sure that you get out there, take lots of pictures this week. There will be a video coming up later in the week, of course. TogChat again next week. For those of you that aren't a member of my Facebook group, by the way, usually either Tuesday or Thursday, some weeks both, but either Tuesday or Thursday evening, I do a live check-in in the Facebook group. And during that live check-in, I actually review photos that people have shared in the group. So if you're not a member of the Facebook group yet, the link is in the description below, or you can follow the link that I just pasted into the chat window there. And just so we make sure it shows up in the video, you can follow that link. So DMAC, I will see about bringing some shirts to WPPI. I probably won't sell them, but I'll give some away. We are going to do a little promo. And actually, this was an idea that my son had, and it was a great idea, but it's going to be a Talk to Joe promo. So the point is, if you're coming to WPPI, number one, you got to make sure you come say hi to me. I will be at the Olympus booth most of the time, except for the 2 times that I will be at Interfit, and I will be publishing all those times. But I'm going to have a little giveaway for people. Nothing expensive. Don't get excited. Just a little giveaway if you come talk to me. But we want to do a selfie. We want to make sure we get it posted online. I definitely want to make sure that a lot of people stop by and see me at the Olympus booth, watch my talk. If you're a YouTube person and you follow me, I want to be able to catch up with you and say hi and thank you personally. So yeah. And if you're on the fence about going to WPPI, go. It's a great event. Okay. All right, gang. So listen, you know the drill. If you were here for the last, 100 minutes, that means you need 200 minutes of shooting this week. Okay. For every 100 minutes you're watching me, that means you need 200 minutes with the camera in your hand, taking pictures. So thanks again for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure that you remember these words.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now go pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.